bunches, nice to see you again. It's Friday afternoon, about 2 o'clock. We have done 1 week of lockdown. Surprise, surprise, it's been extended for at least another week, so the over it feels are there, and but mainly the malaise, you know, is the most annoying thing. Apart from the cold, I've actually had a really good run with my health. While I've been doing a sort of second SIBO protocol, I've been feeling really great, but since last night, I don't know, some of the fatigue symptoms have come back just as I've sort of finished it. Just very frustrating and confusing. Not that I want to bore you with my health problems or seem like I'm only focusing on the negative. I just feel like I have to be transparent because I'm in a very frustrated spot at the moment and just not feeling my perky self, and also knowing that if I could go out and do stuff and distract myself and have more in real life experiences and not feel so like touch stuff, that would probably trickle back, affect my mental health positively and my physical health. This past week has been kind of fine. I mean, time just takes on a weird warpy vague quality and you can't remember what you've been up to, what you did on each day. I've tried to keep a pretty regular sleep cycle, although I'm wondering like, why am I bothering to get up so early? Like, but I just wonder if it's, you know, just my ego feeling good. It doesn't get light till like 7:20, so why fight it? Because at 3:30 like every day I sort of have this urge to scream. I think it's just like a cabin fever side effect, but you know, we're entering like the shorter days of the year. I should probably just embrace it a bit more. Pardon me, and get as much rest as I can. I finished painting that jacket this week. I was gonna do like blue flowers all over it, but the fabric is very textured, so it requires quite a lot of paint, and well, A, I was using up heaps of paint and was going through it alarmingly quickly, and B, like it dries quite stiff, and I thought, I don't know that this would make much sense or be super comfortable, appealing to wear if the flowers were all over it, so I've just done it on the back panel. I'm happy with it. It's sort of like my one shape I'm comfortable doing. I finally finished the crappy book of Sweet Bitter. I'm sorry, but I kind of loathed it. Probably my least favourite book ever. I just thought it was a bit shit that that was the book that like took me into lockdown. It was such a slog, and the characters are so pretentious, so unlikable, so decontextualised and not down to earth. We were really lucky and had a lot of sunshine in the first week of lockdown we just had, but the week to come looks really damp and dreary, so I hope you like this video though, honey bunches. I've had a pretty productive morning, so I'm just gonna take it easy for the rest of the day. About 5:15. I ended up realizing I needed to like tick something off this afternoon, so I decided to proofread a job application that I really want, and that felt good to like tick something off, you know, have one less thing hanging about. Great mail day. Finally my copy of At the Pond arrived. This is by the same publisher, and I think like a similar concept to the In the Kitchen essays on food and life book that I absolutely love. This one's essays by people who swim at the Hampstead Ladies Pond in London. Nature, mental health themes, you know. And then look at this beautiful cover. I didn't realize that she was so juicy, but this is like a Bible that's up my street. No, like a collection of essays and writing on food from a certain underrepresented perspective we love. I'm a bit intimidated by it, not gonna lie. Like, there is a lot in this. And then this arrived the other day. It's called Hungry Hearts, 13 Tales of Food and Love. Similar vibe, food essays. They're either tales or essays with food love or life in the title. These books, but very excited to tuck into these. I talk about all the books I read every month on my Patreon, FYI. I did start doing it for January this year on this channel, but I kind of figured it's not everyone's ultra cup of tea, but for a price of a coffee once a month, yeah, you can access all those videos. And FYI, you can pay whatever pledge you want to. There's a whole spectrum. Just for 1 month and you can access all the content. For dinner, I think we're having leftovers of what I made for lunch, but my mum, I think, is making some potato wedges to go with some vegan Gardein fish fillets that my mum and my brother are having to supplement their dinner. And then it's going to be a chillish kind of evening. To be perfectly honest, I found it really hard to get back into yoga this year since Merlin's crashed into my life wonderfully. But in the last week I was really craving some sort of movement in lockdown, and I just did a couple of Pilates, depending on which instructor you get, videos, and I just found them way more up my street, or just what I'm sort of craving. I say this a lot, but in this season of my life, because they're a lot slower and a lot more strength based, and I'm really craving that at the moment. I'm just really frustrated with like my level of fitness, because it's, while I walk heaps every day with Merlin, no issues there, I just feel like my strength fading, and that makes me sad because I was so fit when I was younger, and just every attempt I've made to like get back into exercise, it's been right before I feel crummy. And I've also found that like my center, where my digestion is just not appreciative of much action there. But that's like the very region, well, really all regions, I really want to strengthen. I don't know, if you're someone who's navigated or is navigating like digestion stuff or chronic fatigue stuff, any sort of non-straightforward invisible illness, like, and you have any experience in this sort of area or any tips or insights, I'd love to hear. I think really what I've just got to do is make the most of the days I have more energy and stop being so hard on myself. But it is just so frustrating. There's a period of going through the feels and mourning for the body and fitness you did have, while you make peace with a very ebb and flowy sort of exercise life. Another random thing that I thought I'd just mention, because I've had this conversation in various ways with 3 friends this week, and that was like, well, this is the season 1 for like relationships changing, but I feel it's also the season for a lot of people just being so fed up with their appearance. And I don't think it's that we're like hating ourselves more than usual. I think it's like last year we just didn't get to like go out and take our like bodies and physical appearance out and like enjoy that around other people. That might sound really weird, but it means that like us or our families or housemates or whoever are just like our audience, and that gets old real fast, and that means like the clothes you wear just feel like quicker than usual. Maybe your haircut feels quicker than usual, and yet we're probably like seeing ourselves in reflections of stuff when, you know, sheltering in place more than we would if we were out and about. And I think that's what's contributing to being sick of our appearance, because I am, even filming these, I like stop and start more times than I ever did, and that's probably a byproduct of doing this for a while, but I'm just so over looking at myself. All our levels of like how drab we look are blown way out of proportion, because, well, we're all haggard from the experiences that we've experienced over the last year, but also like living at home and not having like, yeah, an audience, which I just mean like the world, out of our bubble, I think can just make us feel a bit more stale. I don't think that made a whole bunch of sense, but hopefully you got the gist. Stop jumping me! Ah! It's jumping my vehicle! Stop eating me! low again. It's nearly 11. The morning's gone pretty quick. I've spent it reading Sweet Bean Paste, which I am absolutely loving. No surprises there. It is so my cup of tea. I took Merlin for a long walk, and then I just did a long food shop and got the last things for one of the HBOT boxes, which I send out twice yearly for the top tier Patreon subscribers. Patroners, which I'll be sending out next week, if that's relevant to you. I'm going to write the letter for that now. Send a message to my friend whose birthday it is in lockdown again. Plan on making some more food this afternoon. This lockdown is proving to be like incredibly delicious. The snack section of our pantry is overflowing, I think because just so many good snacks are like vegan treaty snack on the healthier end of the spectrum have become available since in the last like 6 months. It was really exciting. I've been saying to my fam or whoever will listen for ages that like Woolworths, which is sort of our local large supermarket, and Coles too, but like the major supermarkets need to get their act together and put all the vegan stuff in one bloody spot. And I mean like the pantry type vegan stuff. Put all the snacky type vegan cherry ripe bars and vegan balls and like the little somethings like in a section. They haven't done that, but they have started making designated fridges for like the vegan cakes and the vegan and gluten-free stuff. And I saw Beyond Burgers in Woolworths finally, and also vegan gluten-free wraps by Mission, which, look, I don't love the bigger brands because of any like conglomerate-y reason, but Mission like know how to do wraps, and so it gives me confidence that they'll be more delicious when not like baked in the oven slathered with tomato, cumin, coriander like spices that it just warmed up slightly in like a warm burrito setting would be amazing, or even just in a wrap, you know, cold, wouldn't be drying. It even had millet flour in the top 3 flours, and I predict millet flour is going to like hopefully come into its own. I mean, it should. Yes, it's a bit bitter, but mixed with other gluten-free flours, it's like the most oat-like faux grain. There's a really incredible vegan gluten-free cake baker in New York. She's quite like famous, and she has this cookbook, and we gave it to a family friend who has a vegan gluten-free sort of business, and I had a quick peruse in it, and in her specific, sorry if this is boring, but in her specific gluten-free flour mix, it's such a science and it's so not perfected yet, but I feel like we're on the cusp of, you know, recipes and companies and small businesses getting it right. And millet flour was a very crucial ingredient in her specific flour mix, which only confirmed my thoughts. It's just really not widely available. You can't buy it here. You can buy millet flakes, which in the dumplings my brother and I are going to make tonight, we're just going to blend them into a flour and hope that that similarly or is the same thing. But I'm pretty sure millet is like fed to cows in like large quantities. It shouldn't be like an elitist health food shop grain. So hopefully that changes. Not a fan of the camera, are you? Not a fan. It's just gone 3 and I've just been tiring out Merlin and having lots of snuggles, and I thought I would sit down and talk about, I think this was mentioned on like a Instagram something or other that I did probably months ago now, and that was a request to talk about things I do for my mental health. And I thought about doing a whole video on this, but I don't think I have the brain space to make it as like nice as I would like to. The lockdown brain fuzzies are real, so I'll just read from some notes I've made. Obviously, major disclaimer, I'm really in no position to have any authority on the topic. I'm not a mental health professional, obviously. These are just things that I've worked out that help me in response to my lifestyle. But in saying that, I think talking about these sorts of things, even when they're not going to be applicable to everyone or helpful for everyone, they might even be anxiety inducing for some people, it helps to dismantle the stigma around mental health. And I think it's kind of nice to have like a potluck of self-soothing strategies. So if listening to any of mine make you think of some of yours, I would love to hear, and I'm sure others would really value hearing yours in the comments. So under the first category of eating, which can come with a bit of anxiety for me since developing some digestive issues, and it can be a site for overthinking. Is what I'm eating causing my digestive discomfort. Am I harming myself? What's going on? Is what I'm eating going to make me feel nauseous? Is it going to make me bloat? All these sorts of things. I used to eat just so fast and it'd just be a purely positive, pleasurable experience. Now I'm a slower eater, like pace-wise, but also I think because I have so many more thoughts around it that I come to it a bit more mindfully these days. One thing I started doing last year when I was really unwell was using reading as a sort of form of distraction after each meal. And I think it's one of those things that it's easier to pick up habits when they're paired with something. So by sitting down and reading for 20-30 minutes after a meal, I was distracting myself from catastrophizing about what effect what I'd eaten was having on my system, but also just like doing a really chill activity that was probably helping whatever I was eating go down smoothly in the first place. And stress has like a major influence on our gut, so it was sort of a win-win. Then my other eating related thing that helps is just having on hand a really simple meal. If they're not on hand, then having something in mind, like if it's a snack, then like some rice cakes with some almond butter or some almond milk with protein powder, like something filling that I know is gonna go down super well. And then in terms of like an actual meal, a really soft spinachy tofu scrambled eggs with loads of sprout is a bit of a weird meal, but it fills me up and tastes fine. Or another thing is a roasted ratatouille, which is much less effort than like a stovetop one. Can still be super flavorful with lots of olives, a pesto mixed in, nutritional yeast, parsley, over basmati rice. Then for sleeping. Sleeping is sort of the OG thing in my life that was affected by the first like little tastes of anxiety growing up. I really struggled to fall asleep for a long time in my teens. Thankfully I've sort of grown out of it, although I don't know if I grew out of it or the coping strategies did actually have an effect, but I was quite like resistant to accepting tips, I guess, from mental health professionals or family friends, mainly because I just felt like really ashamed and frustrated with myself that I was even someone who experienced anxiety. Anyway, some things that have helped me over the years is, number one, understanding what position you actually fall asleep in. For me, I like lie in a log face down, like all limbs sort of inwards to maintain heat. I think it's also a pressure thing because I really appreciate, like, I don't have a weighted blanket, but I do sort of sleep with like 7 blankets on top of me, and obviously in a heat wave different situation, but otherwise the weight as well as warmth is really soothing. Even when I'm going to sleep, I do sort of spread out a bit more. I've come to realize that I don't actually fall asleep in those positions, so if I want to just get to sleep sooner, then I'll just stay in my log position. But in saying that, if for whatever reason I am feeling nauseous and my digestion's weird, then I ditch the log because like lying face down on your stomach isn't so comfy. I will do like a very loose side fetal position, and that just lets your belly sort of hang loose and takes pressure off any areas that might exacerbate the nausea, and on those nights I seem to fall asleep fine in that position. Something else I do is use the fan as a white noise machine. I realize this is not a power saving measure, and if I was a better person I would transition to just a noise. For half of the year in spring and summer I have the fan on anyway because I like to have like a cooler room, but then lots of blankets, I don't know, as the atmosphere to fall asleep to. But then I kind of just keep it on during going into the cooler months, and since having Merlin who makes a bit of noise in his sleep, I've kind of kept it on even longer than usual, but usually I stop come winter. What I've started doing now is just pointing it towards the door. It's not pointed at me, but I find the noise, because it's something that I'm already like used to, when it's on for actual cooling purposes, it's very soothing and it just helps you sort of go inward to, I don't know, sleepy zone. Then when it comes to like your buzzing mind and when that won't shut up and you're trying to get to sleep, I was given so many tips when I was a teen on things to sort of think about. One was like, imagine you were in a little cave type thing and the blackness your eyes sort of create and the time of day. Try and associate that with like a cozy hibernation-y little cocoon. I've never found that super duper helpful, but I have thought of it over the years and it's offered a bit of comfort. The most helpful thing I was ever told that helped me get to sleep was a psychologist saying, when you're just lying there and you're like far out, like why can't I fall asleep, to remind yourself that just by lying there thinking of nice things, if you can just manage that, you know, think of like a nice cozy safe space, your body is still getting rest, just like it gets rest by doing restful things in the daytime. And obviously sleep is like the gold standard. We're animals, we sleep. You will survive the next day if you don't actually fall asleep. And that was just like such a relief, because it's obviously very black and white, whether you're asleep and unconscious or you're not, and you're very aware in your mind when you're not. So just to, I don't know, someone to like give you permission to not be asleep, and say that's still like a positive behavior, just to lie there and rest and try and relax and enjoy sort of the quiet non-agenda of the situation, yeah, was like the biggest relief or weight off my back, and therefore that helps you actually fall asleep. Then this isn't something that someone ever told me, but it was more just a maturity thing that really helped, and I think if I could tell little Phoebe this, I don't know, it might help. And that is to remember that people are awake in the world at all times. Obviously people are awake like in the other side of the world. There are so many jobs and things happening at night. I should just butt in that like this is probably revealing my particular anxieties about not falling asleep, and that I felt, I don't know, like I was in trouble or not doing what I needed to be doing at that time. So remembering things that took the pressure off really helped me. Being lucky enough to go through international airports and different time zones was like, oh, people are awake at really wacky hours of the day. Or I remember one morning in school we went to like the fruit and veg market at 3 AM. Or talking to shift workers and being a little bit mind blown that, oh, like there are worlds in your community, at airports, around the country, around the world, that there's always, you know, stuff happening. The world doesn't stop, and that's a really important reminder, I think, to sort of lose that association with darkness means everyone's turning off. Then I thought of one in relation to like social anxiety. Something that has really helped me over the years is if I'm nervous about going to X event or X situation, appointment, whatever, when I'm like on the drive there or at any stage during it, if I catch myself feeling a bit of anxiety, I will remind myself that each little moment that I can deep breathe through, or just each little moment that I experience of this thing that I'm nervous about, is an accomplishment. It's getting through it. Like you're already ticking it off by starting to experience it. And I think we can associate the moment it's over with the yay I did it, but actually every single moment of it you're doing it, and that's like a box tick. It's also a reminder that showing up is kind of the hardest part, and it'll probably go a lot quicker once you acknowledge that anxiety and just be a bit more in the moment and get something out of it that you can. Then the last, this is random and unrelated to the others, thing that I do that I think helps with anxiety and just feeling physically like much more comfortable in life is not wearing synthetic fibers. Obviously that's like an intention that's loaded with a heck ton of privilege, because cheaper clothes are generally not made out of breathable fabrics. That's not always true, but I acknowledge that synthetic fibers are often cheaper, and there's definitely scenarios where I don't find them anxiety causing. Flannelette blanket is very crucial in the cooler months, but when it comes to essentially just garments on the top half, turtlenecks, long sleeve tees, I just find that, yeah, they're not as breathable and can make me feel a bit like claustrophobic. So while there have been many groovy items that I would have loved to have in my wardrobe and maybe have, because I've tried to ignore that reality, in the end, breathable stuff, including wool, like secondhand wool, is a smarter choice for me personally. I hope those sort of related to what the person was asking. I realized it was quite niche, but hopefully that was sort of a help.